The starport of Varelian 7 was alive with color, sound, and movement. Ships of all shapes and sizes docked at the sprawling platforms, their engines humming and hissing as they released travelers into the busy terminal. Merchants shouted their wares in dozens of alien languages, and humans in their simple clothes and curious eyes walked alongside creatures with scales, feathers, or glowing skin. Captain Elias Ward, a human explorer with a reputation for curiosity and kindness, stepped off his small transport ship, feeling both excitement and a touch of nervousness. Elias had traveled across dozens of star systems, but Varelian 7 always felt special. Here, cultures from hundreds of planets mingled and trade flowed like a river through the corridors of the starport. Elias loved seeing the contrasts, the tiny, delicate traders of Glithar, who carried tiny glowing fruits in glass boxes, alongside the towering armored Tornaxians, who moved with surprising elegance for their size. It was a place where humans seemed small but somehow resilient, finding their way through a universe full of strangeness. Elias walked toward the central marketplace, looking for supplies and curiosities to bring back to his ship. His eyes wandered over shimmering fabrics, gadgets that defied human physics, and intricate jewelry made from unknown metals. He was always drawn to the small things that told a story. The way a merchant displayed his goods, the gestures of a customer bargaining in a foreign tongue. It was there, near a cluster of glowing stalls, that he first noticed her. Princess Leora of Zerathia moved with a grace that caught the eye of everyone around her. She was taller than most humans, but not as large as the Tornaxians, with skin that shimmered softly in pale green, and hair that seemed to float as if it had its own light. Her eyes were a deep violet, calm and observing, and her presence demanded attention without a single word. Unlike the bustling crowd, she moved slowly, deliberately, as if she were weighing every step and every glance. Elias felt a strange pull. Humans were often fascinated by beauty, and he had seen many stunning alien faces, but there was something more in Leora's eyes, a depth, a quiet wisdom, and a touch of curiosity that mirrored his own. He watched her pause at a small stall, where a vendor displayed delicate earth flowers, tiny blossoms with soft petals and a faint, sweet fragrance. Leora leaned slightly, her eyes tracing the simple flowers, though she did not touch them. Elias noticed that most Zerathians avoided such small, natural things, preferring advanced technology that could simulate anything, but these flowers seemed to captivate her. "Interesting choice," a voice said behind him. Elias turned to see a young Zerathian merchant, his skin a light blue and eyes filled with excitement. Few Zerathians even notice these. Most of us prefer the synthetic displays. Elias nodded. "I noticed. She seems different." He gestured subtly toward the princess, careful not to stare too openly. The merchant smiled knowingly. "Ah, Princess Leora. Always curious about things others overlook. But be careful. She is royalty. Not many can approach her freely." Elias smiled. "I don't plan to approach, just observing." Yet he could not take his eyes off her. There was something in the way she looked at the flowers, a sense of wonder that reminded him of children on Earth who saw magic in ordinary things. Suddenly an idea came to him. He stepped toward the stall and picked up a small earth flower, feeling its soft petals between his fingers. It was simple, almost fragile, yet perfectly alive. He bought it without hesitation. A simple gift. Nothing grand, nothing expensive, just a small token. For days, Elias had traveled through space, delivering supplies, repairing old stations, and exploring unknown worlds. He had given gifts before, mostly practical tools or rare items, but this time felt different. Something about the princess, about her curiosity and quiet presence, made him want to offer something personal, something human. He followed discreetly as Leora moved through the marketplace, careful not to be noticed. He watched her stop again, this time at a stall selling holographic maps of distant galaxies. She seemed indifferent, her attention still, lingering on the small details of the market, the colors, the scents, the sounds. Elias realized that she was not interested in luxury or power, only in experience, in observing the universe in her own way. It was unusual for a royal alien to wander freely among the crowd, but Zarathians were known for their controlled independence. Still, the other merchants and guards watched her closely, ensuring she remained safe. Elias had to be careful. One wrong move could end his chance to offer the gift. After what felt like hours, Leora began to move toward the edge of the marketplace, where the platform led to the palace gardens. Elias took a deep breath. This was his chance. He stepped forward and bowed slightly, offering the small earth flower. "Princess Leora," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. I saw you admiring these flowers. I thought you might like one." The crowd seemed to pause around them. People whispered, curious about this human daring to approach royalty. Leora turned slowly, her violet eyes meeting his. She studied him for a long moment, tilting her head slightly. Then, to Elias's surprise, she smiled. Not a polite, formal smile, but a soft, genuine smile like sunlight breaking through clouds. She reached out and took the flower. "This is beautiful," she said, her voice melodic but quiet. "I have never seen one of these. Not in my gardens. Not in the markets. It is simple, yet it feels alive." Elias felt a warmth in his chest. "I'm glad you like it. I thought, sometimes small things can mean more than grand gestures." Leora held the flower carefully, as if it were more precious than any jewel. "Your people, humans," she said slowly. "You see value in things others overlook. That is unusual." Elias chuckled softly. "Maybe unusual, but sometimes it's necessary. A flower, a smile, a kind word. These things can last longer than power or gold." She looked at him thoughtfully. "Perhaps. I have much to learn from your people." They walked together toward the palace gardens, Elias keeping a respectful distance but feeling a connection he could not explain. The guards glanced at him warily, but Leora did not seem to mind. She moved with calm confidence, and for the first time, Elias realized that this was not just curiosity. It was an invitation. The gardens were unlike anything Elias had seen. Trees with crystal leaves, streams that glowed faintly with bioluminescent, water and paths lined with floating lights created a dreamlike landscape. Leora led him through the winding paths, showing him small details. A rare stone, a delicate sculpture, the way a plant's leaves turned toward the light. "You notice things," she said softly, as if reading his thoughts. "Most of my people only see what is necessary. You see more." Elias smiled. "I guess humans are built that way. We survive by noticing details, by understanding each other. Maybe that's why we appreciate simple things like flowers." Leora nodded, holding the earth flower close. "And yet a simple flower can teach a lesson no technology can. I see that now." For a long time they walked in silence, sharing an understanding that did not need words. Elias felt a strange mix of awe and excitement. Here he was, a human, walking beside an alien princess, sharing something as small as a flower, and finding it transform an entire perspective. As the sun of Zarathia's twin moons began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet, Elias realized that this encounter would change more than just his day. The seed of something greater had been planted, simple and quiet, yet filled with possibility, and all it had taken was a small earth flower. The palace of Zarathia was a marvel of design. Its towers shimmered like glass in the light of the twin moons, and the walls seemed to hum with quiet energy. Elias walked beside Princess Leora, holding the small earth flower he had offered. He could not help but feel nervous. He had given many gifts before, but none had been for royalty. None had carried the weight of expectation and protocol. Leora led him through halls that glowed softly with light embedded in the walls. The corridors were quiet, almost reverent, lined with statues of Zarathia's ancestors, figures of wisdom and strength. Guards followed silently at a distance, keeping watch, but their presence felt more ceremonial than threatening. Elias tried to focus on the flower. It seemed so simple compared to everything around him. The advanced technology, the glowing architecture, the delicate tapestries that told stories of generations long past. Yet, when he glanced at Leora, he saw her staring at it, as if it held the secrets of the universe. Finally, they reached a small private chamber near the palace gardens. Leora turned to him, holding the flower delicately in her hands. She examined it slowly, her violet eyes reflecting both curiosity and something deeper, an emotion Elias could not quite name. "This is extraordinary," she said softly. Her voice carried a tone of wonder. "I have never held anything like it. Not in my gardens, not in the markets. It is alive, in a way I had almost forgotten." Elias swallowed, surprised by her intensity. "I'm glad you like it. It's just a flower, really, but I thought you might enjoy seeing something simple and natural." Leora shook her head slowly, as if trying to process the feeling the flower had stirred. "Not just simple," she said. "Rare. Precious. On Zarathia, we live surrounded by technology. We can create everything, light, water, even plants, but most of it is artificial. Real life, small, fragile, yet persistent, is something many of us never see." Elias's heart quickened. This was more than politeness. Leora's reaction was genuine, deeply thoughtful. He realized that a simple act, a tiny flower, had stirred something profound within her. I didn't know it would mean so much," Elias admitted. "I just thought it was a kind gesture. But if it can remind you of something real, then I'm happy." Leora looked at him carefully. "Your people, humans, you notice these details. You care about small things, small moments. That is unusual. On my world, we focus on efficiency, perfection, achievement. We forget the little things." Elias smiled. "Maybe that's why humans survive in a universe like this. We see the small details. We notice emotions, gestures, moments. We value them. Sometimes a flower can tell more than 1,000 words." The princess considered his words. I want to understand your perspective, how humans see meaning in simplicity. I think I have much to learn." Elias felt both honored and a little overwhelmed. Here he was, a simple human explorer, standing beside an alien princess who ruled a world far more advanced than his own. Yet she sought his understanding. It was a strange and wonderful reversal of roles. "Then I will teach you," he said, gently. "I cannot explain everything in a moment, but we can start with small things. Simple gestures, small gifts, acts of kindness. They carry power you might not expect." Leora's expression softened. "Yes, I see that now. The flower. It is not just a flower, it is a lesson." They spent the next hour in quiet conversation. Elias told her about Earth's flowers, its forests, and the small traditions humans practiced. Birthdays, simple celebrations, shared meals, stories told to pass the time. Leora listened, fascinated, her fingers lightly brushing the petals of the earth flower as if drawing knowledge from it. "Humans live differently," she said finally. "Your lives are short compared to mine, yet you see so much, feel so much, and then you choose to share it. That is remarkable." Elias shrugged modestly. "It's just how we live. We notice, we care, we act. We can't always control the universe, but we can control our own gestures. We can make moments meaningful." The princess smiled faintly. "And these gestures, they are not required by law, not demanded by society. They are chosen, voluntary." "Exactly," Elias said. "And that choice, it shows character, heart." Leora looked at him with a seriousness that made him catch his breath. "You have heart, human. That is rare among my people, and yet I see it in you." Elias could not help but feel proud, not of himself, but of what humans could offer. For all their simplicity, they carried a unique strength, empathy, kindness, understanding. that even advanced civilizations sometimes lacked. After a while, Leora stood and motioned for him to follow. She led him through a hidden door into a small balcony that overlooked the palace gardens. The view was breathtaking. Streams of water that glowed in soft blue light, trees with translucent leaves, and plants that shimmered in the twilight. "This garden is designed to teach balance," she explained. "Technology and life together in harmony. Yet, even here, nothing truly compares to life that grows freely, unmade by hands or machines. Your flower, it reminds me of what we often forget." Elias nodded. "Sometimes the most powerful lessons are the simplest." Leora smiled, a genuine smile that lit her face. "I see now why humans fascinate me. You carry wisdom in unexpected ways." For the next hour, they wandered the garden, examining plants, listening to the soft hum of water and the quiet songs of bioluminescent birds. Elias shared stories of Earth's forests, mountains, and oceans, while Leora told him of Zarathia's skies, its twin moons, and the rare natural blooms her people tried to cultivate. Each story, each shared observation, built a bridge between them. The differences between human simplicity and Zarathian sophistication seemed to dissolve in the quiet understanding forming between them. Elias felt a strange joy, a human joy, of connection, of shared wonder. As the evening deepened, Leora paused near a small fountain. She placed the earth flower carefully beside the water, letting its petals touch the glowing surface. "It will live here," she said softly. "A reminder that simplicity has value, that life, even fragile and small, matters." Elias smiled. "That is perfect. I could not ask for it to have a better home." She looked at him, eyes full of curiosity and gratitude. "Thank you, Elias. You have given me more than a flower. You have given me a perspective I had never imagined. That is a rare gift." Elias felt a warmth spread through him, a quiet pride that humans were capable of such impact. "And you have given me something too," he said. "A chance to understand your world and to see how even the smallest gesture can make a difference." For the first time, he felt truly seen, not as a human among aliens, not as a visitor in a palace, but as someone whose simple humanity mattered. Leora's reaction had been unexpected, far beyond what he could have imagined, but it had opened a door between them, a door to understanding, respect, and curiosity. The twin moons rose fully in the sky, casting soft violet light across the garden. Leora turned to him and spoke with quiet determination. "Elias, I want to learn more about your people, your ways, your understanding of life. Perhaps in time we can share knowledge not just as teacher and student, but as equals seeing the universe together." Elias's heart raced. "I would like that," he said simply, "more than anything." And so, in the quiet glow of Zarathia's evening, a friendship began, one born from curiosity, simplicity, and a single earth flower. What had seemed like a small, ordinary gesture had become a bridge between worlds, a connection that neither technology nor wealth could create. As they walked back through the palace corridors, Elias realized that this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, filled with wonder and challenge, but with understanding and kindness, humans could make a difference. Small gestures like a flower could inspire empathy, change perspectives, and even shape the course of relationships between worlds. And Elias, the human explorer, knew that he had found not just a friend in Princess Leora, but a way to show the universe what humans could offer, not through power, not through advanced technology, but through heart, understanding, and simple acts of care. The story of a simple gift and an unexpected reaction had only just begun. The morning sun rose slowly over Zarathia, casting golden light on the palace gardens. Streams of bioluminescent water glowed faintly, as if still holding the memory of the twin moon's soft light from the night before. Elias awoke in the guest quarters of the palace, the earth flower resting in a small glass vase by the window. Its delicate petals seemed to smile in the morning warmth. a quiet reminder of the connection he had formed with Princess Leora. He dressed quickly, eager to meet her again. Today felt different. Yesterday had been about gestures and first impressions, but today promised deeper understanding. As he walked toward the garden balcony, he saw Leora waiting, her violet eyes bright and curious. "Good morning, Elias," she said, her voice calm and melodic. "Are you ready to explore?" Elias smiled. "I've been ready since yesterday. I'm curious about everything here, the gardens, the palace, even the smallest details." Leora inclined her head, pleased. "Then let us begin." They walked through the palace halls toward the gardens, passing chambers filled with Zarathian art and inventions. Elias noticed the contrast between technology and nature, a balance that Zarathians seemed to prize. Holographic displays floated near walls, showing star charts and botanical data, yet real plants grew in careful harmony alongside them. He marveled at the way the palace blended science and life, efficiency and beauty. In the gardens, Leora guided him to a section filled with rare plants that had been cultivated using advanced techniques. Some glowed with internal light, others changed colors depending on the angle of sunlight. "These are special," she explained. "We have created them to survive in environments where life would otherwise struggle. Yet, even with technology, they lack the vitality of real, naturally grown plants. That is why your flower intrigued me so much. It is alive, not engineered, not designed. It exists because it can." Elias knelt near a small stream, watching the water ripple over glowing stones. "Humans have a saying," he said, "that the smallest things can carry the greatest meaning. Maybe your people have the same, but in different ways." Leora considered this. "Perhaps. On Zarathia, we measure value through achievement, efficiency, perfection. You measure value through feeling, attention, care. That is foreign, yet fascinating." They wandered deeper into the garden, discovering a variety of exotic plants. Elias asked questions about each one, their growth patterns, their care, their history. Leora explained patiently, pointing out details he would have missed if he had only glanced. She seemed eager to learn, yet she also seemed to enjoy sharing her world. "This one," she said, gesturing to a cluster of floating orbs that emitted soft hums, "was created to sense changes in air quality. It glows brighter when the air is pure, dimmer when it is not. Many Zarathians admire its design, but few notice its interaction with the surrounding plants." "You see it differently, human." Elias crouched, observing the delicate orbs. "I notice life in everything. Even artificial life tells a story about its environment. The orbs and the plants, they exist together. That connection is important." Leora's eyes widened slightly. "Yes, that is what I mean. You see relationships, patterns, meaning, not just function. Humans are different." As they walked, Elias began to share stories of his home planet, Earth. He spoke of forests and oceans, mountains and deserts. He described the feeling of rain on bare skin, the sound of wind through trees, the joy of walking through a field of wildflowers. Leora listened intently, leaning closer as if trying to feel the emotions behind his words. "When you describe it like that," she said softly, "I can almost see it, almost feel it. Your world, it is alive in ways mine is not." Elias smiled. "Life can be simple yet rich. It doesn't need complexity to be meaningful. That's why a small flower can carry so much, its beauty, its fragility, its persistence." Leora nodded thoughtfully. "And yet humans can also survive in harsh conditions. You adapt. You find joy even in small victories. That is admirable." They paused near a pond where glowing fish swam in patterns that reflected the light of the twin moons. Leora knelt and traced her fingers through the water, creating ripples that danced across the surface.
"This is different from your rivers and lakes," she said, "but it is still beautiful. It feels alive." Elias knelt beside her. "All life has its own rhythm. Whether on Earth or Zerathia, the patterns are similar. Humans understand
these rhythms in subtle ways. We notice when something is out of place, when something needs care, when something deserves attention. It is instinct, and it is choice. Leora studied him closely. Your people are attentive. You see beyond appearances. You understand the essence of life. Maybe it is because life is fragile, Elias said. Humans know that nothing lasts forever, so we appreciate what we have. Even small things, a flower, a smile, a conversation, can matter more than anything grand or permanent. Leora looked at him, a soft smile forming on her lips. That is wise. Your people have heart, and it shows in the way you live. Perhaps that is what your people offer to the universe. Beyond technology and strength, understanding, care, connection, Elias felt a warmth spread through him. For all the wonders he had seen in the galaxy, nothing compared to this moment. The sharing of understanding, the meeting of perspectives, the quiet formation of a bond that transcended worlds. As they continued through the garden, Leora began to ask questions about human customs. On your world, how do people celebrate? She asked. Do you rely on technology as much as we do? Elias chuckled. We have some technology, of course, but celebrations are often about people, sharing meals, telling stories, giving gifts, spending time together. The simplest things can bring the most joy. Even a small flower? She asked, smiling. Elias nodded. Especially a small flower. It shows thought, care, attention. That is what matters most. Leora considered this carefully, then looked at the earth flower resting in her hand. I will keep this always, she said softly. It will remind me of simplicity, of life, of understanding, and of you. Elias felt a rush of emotion. And I will remember this too. Not just the flower, but this day, and your openness to learn. It means more than I can say. They spent the rest of the morning exploring hidden corners of the gardens, each new discovery sparking conversation. Elias noticed how Leora's perspective began to shift. She no longer saw life solely through the lens of technology and control. She noticed patterns, fragility, resilience, the things humans saw naturally. At one point, they came across a small grove where trees with translucent leaves grew in spirals. Leora paused and watched the sunlight pass through them. It is beautiful, she whispered. I think I understand now. Life, even fragile life, has value beyond what we can engineer or measure. It has meaning in its existence alone. Elias nodded. Exactly. And humans understand that instinctively. We survive, but we also notice. We also care. That is what makes our influence unique. Leora smiled, a gentle, sincere smile. You have opened my eyes, Elias. Perhaps humans have more to offer the universe than I ever imagined. Not through power, not through technology, but through heart, through understanding, through simplicity. Elias felt a surge of pride, not in himself, but in humanity. He realized that this exchange, this simple sharing of ideas and stories, could have far-reaching effects. A single perspective, a single gesture could change understanding, build trust, and even shape alliances between worlds. As the sun rose higher, painting the gardens in gold and green, Elias and Leora sat together on a stone bench. The earth flower rested between them, a symbol of what had brought them together. Elias, Leora said softly, I wish to learn more, not just about your people, but about your ways of thinking, your perspective on life. Perhaps, one day humans and Zerathians can share knowledge and wisdom, and not just through technology, but through understanding one another. Elias smiled. I would like that, more than anything. And it can start with simple things, like today. Small gestures, shared stories, appreciation for life. That is the beginning. Leora nodded. Then let this day be the beginning. As they walked back toward the palace, Elias realized that this cultural exchange had already changed him. He saw the galaxy with new eyes, understanding that human strength lay not just in exploration or invention, but in the power to connect, to teach, to inspire. And for Leora, the gift of a simple flower had become a gateway to a new way of seeing the universe. A universe where understanding, empathy, and care mattered as much as skill or science. Together, they walked through the palace halls, a human and an alien princess, discovering that the heart could bridge worlds, and that the simplest gestures could carry the greatest meaning. The palace of Zarathia was unusually tense that morning. Guards moved with greater urgency, and advisors whispered in hushed tones. Elias, who had spent the last few days learning about the gardens, the palace, and the culture of Zarathia, noticed the shift immediately. "Princess Leora," he said softly as he approached her. "Is everything all right?" She looked troubled, her violet eyes clouded with concern. "A delegation from our neighboring planet Kareth has arrived unexpectedly," she said. "There is tension. Some misunderstandings have arisen regarding trade agreements and border negotiations. My advisors insist on following strict protocol, but I am unsure if it will resolve the matter peacefully." Elias nodded, sensing the weight of her words. Humans had faced crises many times, but he knew Zarathians relied heavily on rules, technology, and protocol. "Perhaps there is another way," he suggested. "Sometimes a human approach, listening, understanding, connecting, can calm situations better than strict rules." Leora looked at him, her expression curious and slightly skeptical. "Human approach? Explain." Elias took a deep breath. Humans often deal with conflicts by understanding the feelings and concerns of everyone involved. We talk, we listen, we show empathy. It may seem small or simple, but it builds trust. People respond to being understood. Leora considered this, then nodded slowly. "Very well. We shall see if your approach can succeed where protocol alone might fail." The delegation from Kareth had gathered in the palace's central chamber, a grand hall of shimmering light and intricate architecture. Carithian envoys, tall and elegant with pale blue skin, stood with arms crossed, their expressions guarded. The Zarathian council members hovered nearby, rigid and alert. Elias followed Leora into the hall, carrying nothing but his calm presence and quiet confidence. "Welcome," Leora said, her voice firm but polite. "We are pleased to receive you on Zarathia." The Carithian leader, a tall figure named Aaron, inclined his head stiffly. "We are here to address concerns about trade and territorial boundaries," he said. His tone was formal, but tension underlined every word. Elias observed carefully. He noticed subtle signs, tightened jawlines, stiff postures, narrowed eyes. These indicated stress and caution. Small gestures, he knew, could make a difference. "Perhaps we can begin by understanding each other," Elias suggested gently. "Not just the agreements, but the concerns behind them. What matters most to each side?" Leora glanced at him, surprised by the suggestion, but she remained silent, allowing him to speak. "On Earth," Elias began, "we have learned that listening first often prevents conflict. When people feel heard and understood, they are more willing to find solutions. Rules and laws are important, but empathy builds trust, and trust leads to agreement." Aaron's expression softened slightly. "You mean we should speak freely, share our concerns openly?" "Yes," Elias said, "and not just for the sake of protocol, for the sake of understanding each other. Simple questions, genuine attention, and small gestures of respect can do more than forceful demands or strict adherence to rules." Leora studied Elias, then nodded. "Very well. We will try your method. Let us speak honestly, and listen honestly." The session began cautiously. Carithian envoys voiced their concerns about trade regulations and resource allocations. Zarathian council members explained the rules from their perspective. Elias guided the conversation, asking questions to clarify motives and emotions rather than simply the facts. As the discussion continued, small breakthroughs appeared. Aaron admitted that his delegation feared Zarathia's growing influence, but he also appreciated fair trade and cooperation. Leora responded, acknowledging the concerns and offering reassurances, while Elias encouraged both sides to see common ground. "What matters most is the well-being of our people," Elias said, "not who gains the advantage today. Cooperation ensures lasting peace." Leora noticed how humans, unlike many Zarathians, valued relationships over rules. She realized that Elias's approach was working. The Carithians began to relax, their posture softening, their expressions less guarded. By midday, the tension in the hall had eased. Both delegations were speaking more openly, listening more carefully, and offering compromises. Elias guided the conversation with patience, helping translate human principles of empathy into action within a Zarathian context. Finally, Aaron leaned forward, a faint smile on his face. "I did not expect this approach to succeed. It is effective. We have found agreement on terms that honor both sides." Leora exhaled, relief evident in her features. "Your people, humans, have much to teach, not only about curiosity and simplicity, but about understanding and connection. Today, your perspective prevented conflict." Elias smiled humbly. "Sometimes it's just about seeing people, not just rules or positions. Small gestures like listening make a difference." The Zarathian council members exchanged glances, clearly impressed. Even the advisors who had doubted Elias's methods now nodded quietly, acknowledging the success of human insight. After the delegation departed, Leora led Elias to a quiet garden terrace. "I must admit," she said, "I did not expect your approach to work. My people rely on protocol, on precision. But you guided understanding with something different, something I had not considered." Elias leaned against the railing, looking out over the glowing plants below. "Humans live with uncertainty. We know rules and technology cannot solve everything. Empathy, observation, understanding, these are tools we use to navigate the unknown. Sometimes they are stronger than any law." Leora nodded slowly. "You have shown me the power of simplicity and attention. I can see now that my people could benefit from such lessons. Not in replacing our technology, but in guiding how we interact with others." Elias felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for humanity. Humans were small in the galaxy, often underestimated, but they carried unique strengths: emotional intelligence, kindness, and the ability to inspire understanding. Leora held the earth flower once more, her thoughts lingering on the gift that had begun it all. "It is remarkable," she said softly. "A small flower, a simple gesture, and yet it led to understanding, connection, even peace." Elias smiled. "Sometimes the smallest acts carry the greatest power. That is something humans know well. We survive in a universe of complexity because we notice, we care, we act. And sometimes that makes all the difference." Leora looked at him with a new respect. "Elias, your people are extraordinary, not in your technology or strength, but in your heart and mind. I hope Zarathia can learn from this, that we can remember the value of small gestures, simple, understanding, and genuine connection." Elias placed a hand lightly on the railing beside her. "And perhaps the universe will notice too. Small acts can create ripples, reaching farther than we imagine." The palace garden was quiet once more, the hum of water and soft glow of plants offering peace after the morning's tension. For Elias, the crisis had been more than a test. It had been proof that humans, even small and simple in a galaxy of marvels, could make a profound difference. Leora's voice broke the silence. "Elias, I would like you to stay here longer. Teach us more, not just about humans, but about perspective, understanding, about life itself." Elias felt a mixture of surprise and gratitude. "I would be honored, and perhaps I can learn from your people as well. Life, even in a world as advanced as Zarathia, has lessons to offer to humans too." she smiled softly. Then let this be a beginning, not only for friendship, but for alliance, understanding, and growth. Your gift, your perspective, it has changed much more than I expected. Elias glanced at the earth flower once more. It was a simple, fragile thing, yet it had sparked trust, curiosity, and understanding. What had seemed like a tiny gesture had become a bridge between worlds, a testament to the human ability to connect and inspire. Sometimes, Elias said quietly, it is the simplest things that create the most lasting impact. A flower, a kind word, a moment of listening. These can change lives, even worlds. Leora nodded, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the garden. And today it has. I will not forget this lesson, Elias, nor will Zerathia. Perhaps one day, we will look back on this moment and see it as the start of something greater. Elias smiled. I believe we already are, and it all started with a simple gift, and your openness to see beyond the expected. As the twin moons climbed higher, casting their violet glow over the gardens, Elias realized that this day had proven something essential. Humans, though small in stature and simple in technology, carried qualities that could inspire change, foster peace, and bridge worlds. And for Leora, the gift of a single flower had become the gateway to understanding, trust, and connection that no amount of advanced machinery could replicate. In that quiet moment, in the glowing gardens of Zerathia, the two of them understood, a truth that would guide their future. The universe was vast, but human heart, kindness, and insight could make ripples far beyond the limits of technology or power. And in that understanding, they both felt hope for the days to come. The twin moons of Zerathia glowed faintly in the night sky, casting soft violet and silver light across the palace gardens. Streams of water shimmered, and plants glowed faintly in the twilight, creating an atmosphere both peaceful and magical. Captain Elias Ward stood beside Princess Leora, gazing at the horizon. The events of the past days had changed much, both for him and for Leora, and for the first time the vastness of the universe felt a little smaller, a little more connected. Elias looked at the earth flower resting in a small glass vase near the balcony railing. Its delicate petals had survived the journey from the marketplace, and somehow it seemed to embody everything that had happened since he had first offered it to Leora. That simple gesture had sparked curiosity, understanding, and trust. It had bridged worlds. Leora turned to him, her violet eyes reflecting the twin moon's light. Elias, she said softly, I have spent time thinking about what you showed me. Your gift, your perspective. It has done more than I imagined. It is rare to see such understanding, patience, and kindness. Humans, your people. You have a way of seeing life that even Zerathians often cannot. Elias smiled gently. It's not that humans are better, he said. We just notice. We see what matters, what is fragile, what is real, and sometimes that's enough to make a difference. Leora nodded. Enough to make a difference, indeed. I can see it now. Your advice, your guidance with the Kareth delegation, it worked because of your humanity, your ability to connect, to listen, to care. Rules and technology can guide people, but they cannot always inspire trust or understanding. You have reminded me of that. Elias felt a quiet pride, not in himself, but in the human capacity to influence the universe through thoughtfulness and heart. The HFY truth was clear. Humans could leave a mark not through power or advanced machinery alone, but through empathy, insight, and simple gestures of care. The princess gestured toward the gardens below. I have asked the council to implement some of your suggestions. Not all, but enough to remember that connection matters. I want Zerathia to learn that balance, understanding, and compassion are as valuable as rules and technology. Elias nodded. And your people will adapt, I'm sure. They are wise and disciplined. Just a little guidance in seeing beyond protocol will help them grow. They walked slowly through the terrace, letting the soft glow of the garden wash over them. Leora's voice was quiet but filled with reflection. It is strange, Elias. A small flower, a simple act of kindness. It has shaped these days more than any law, any policy, or any display of power could. It has reminded me that life, even fragile, deserves attention and care. Elias smiled, feeling the truth of her words. Small things can lead to big changes. A gesture, a word, a choice. They ripple farther than we often realize. Humans survive because we notice, because we care, because we act, and that can make all the difference. Leora stopped near the balcony railing, her hands resting lightly on it. Do you think humans can influence the galaxy in ways other civilizations cannot? She asked. I do, Elias said simply. We may not be the strongest, the fastest, or the most technologically advanced, but we have something unique: heart, empathy, curiosity, and the ability to see value in what others overlook. That is influence too. Sometimes it is even more powerful than fleets or machines. Leora smiled faintly, thoughtful. I see now why my curiosity about humans was never simple fascination. You have something rare, something important, and I want Zarathia to learn from that even in small ways. They stood in silence for a while, listening to the soft hum of the gardens, the gentle flow of water, and the distant song of bioluminescent birds. The moment felt timeless, suspended between worlds, a space where understanding and connection could exist without interference from rules, politics, or expectations. Finally, Leora spoke again. Elias, will you stay on Zarathia longer? Not as a visitor, but as a teacher of perspective, of understanding. There is much my people could learn from humans if they were willing to listen. Elias considered this. He had traveled across countless star systems, seen wonders beyond imagination, yet he realized that this moment, this opportunity to influence understanding across worlds, was perhaps the most meaningful thing he had ever encountered. I would be honored, he said finally, and I believe I can learn from your people as well. Even in a world as advanced as Zarathia, there are lessons that humans can carry away too. Together, we can teach each other. Leora's eyes softened, filled with gratitude. Then let this be the start of something lasting. Not only friendship between us, but a bridge between our peoples. Perhaps one day humans and Zarathians will see the galaxy differently, guided by understanding and respect rather than fear or protocol alone. Elias felt a surge of hope. He had often wondered if humans, so small in the grand universe, could make a meaningful difference. Now he knew they could. Not through power, not through technology, but through heart, insight, and kindness. He glanced once more at the earth flower. It was still delicate, its petals untouched, resting quietly in its vase. It had begun as a simple gift, and now it symbolized far more: understanding, connection, hope, and the capacity for change. Princess, Elias said softly, this flower, it started everything. It reminded us of simplicity, life, and care. And it shows that even small gestures can shape great things. That is a lesson I hope we will carry forever. Leora nodded, her hands lightly touching the petals. I will keep it always. It will remind me of your people, of humanity, and of the truths you have shown me, that heart matters, understanding matters, and simple gestures can ripple across worlds. Perhaps one day we will look back and see that this was the beginning of something larger than either of us could imagine. Elias smiled. I believe we already are seeing it, and it will grow, slowly, quietly, like this flower. A small act creating a universe of possibilities. The twin moons climbed higher in the sky, their light painting the garden in soft silver and violet hues. Leora and Elias walked slowly through the palace terraces side by side. Though their worlds were different, their perspectives aligned in a shared understanding. Connection, empathy, and care could cross galaxies and bring people together. As they reached the edge of the garden, Elias looked at Leora. I think the universe has more to teach us, he said. But today I have learned one of the most important lessons: that humans, even small, simple, and seemingly ordinary, can make an extraordinary difference. Leora smiled, her gaze steady and thoughtful. And I have learned that greatness does not always come from power or knowledge alone. It comes from heart, from attention, from the choice to care. Your people embody that, Elias, and I will carry this lesson forward with Zerathia and beyond. Elias felt a quiet joy. He had traveled across the stars seeking adventure, discovery, and understanding, but he had found something far greater: the power of human heart, the impact of simple gestures, and the ability to shape worlds through empathy. The night deepened, the garden quiet except for the hum of plants and the distant sound of water. Elias and Leora paused at the balcony, looking out over the vast palace grounds. "You know," Leora said softly, "perhaps one day this garden will hold many more of your gifts. Not just flowers, but stories, lessons, reminders of humanity, and perhaps humans and Zerathians will walk together, learning, sharing, and growing." Elias smiled. "I would like that. And perhaps we can inspire others to see that understanding, care, and simple gestures are as powerful as any fleet, any invention, any display of might." Leora turned to him, her eyes filled with warmth. "Elias, thank you. For the flower, for your guidance, for showing me that even the smallest acts can change everything. You have given me more than a gift. You have given me perspective, understanding, and hope." Elias felt his heart swell. "And you have given me the chance to see that humans are capable of more than we often realize, that even in a universe of marvels and power, the human heart can make a difference." They stood together in silence for a long moment, letting the garden and the twin moons witness the bond that had formed. A human and an alien princess, two perspectives converging, two hearts aligned in shared understanding. The earth flower remained between them, fragile and quiet, yet carrying the weight of everything that had passed. It had begun as a simple gift, and now it symbolized connection, empathy, trust, and hope, the foundation of a lasting bond that reached beyond worlds. And in that quiet, glowing garden of Zerathia, Elias realized that humans, small as they were, in the grand universe could leave an impact far greater than anyone could imagine. The night was calm, the stars shining above, and the galaxy seemed a little closer, a little more connected. Elias and Leora knew that the journey was only beginning, not just for them, but for their peoples, and for the countless lives that might be touched by understanding, heart, and the simplest gestures. In the end, it had all started with a flower, and from that small, fragile gift, a bridge had formed, between worlds, between hearts, between life itself.